All eyes on the Rio Grande Valley as Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas visits the region.
And this visit comes as the Biden administration prepares to end a COVID policy that turned away migrants at the border.
Our Stephania Jimenez is live along the border wall in the Rio Grande Valley with the latest. Steph, the secretary says they know what they're going to do coming up. So the big question is, what's the plan?
Okay, so the plan involves a few different things, Steve. One of them is vaccinating more migrants along the border. The other thing is also adding more manpower along the border. As this administration prepares to deal with the end of Title 42, we should also mention that the secretary has spent the day along different parts of the border today, meeting with Customs and Border Protection agents to try and get a feel as to what they need should Title 42 end next week. Now, you have to keep in mind there are several moving parts to this. We will get to that in a moment, but first we want to show you more of Secretary Mayorkas' visit as the agents say they need more manpower, more equipment to deal with a possible increase of migrants coming through the border. Now, Homeland Security is saying that as many as 6,000 people try to come through here every day, but that number may more than double. Here's the thing, though. We asked the secretary specifics, meaning how many migrants exactly are immigration officials prepared to process if they come through the border after Title 42 ends. And listen to what he said.
We are addressing a level of migration that is historic, and they are doing an extraordinary job in managing the current flow. As the plans that we published a few weeks ago evidence, what we have done is not necessarily predict the flow that we might encounter, but rather we have planned for different scenarios that could in fact materialize.
All right, so you just heard the secretary right there. Basically, there are no specifics as far as Homeland Security is concerned. It just doesn't know what's going to happen should Title 42 end next week. Now, what it is going to do is to vaccinate migrants as they come here across the border and add more than 600 CBP agents. And that's the adding of the manpower that CBP agents had already asked for. Now, we just described to you the technical side of this, but you have to remember there's a very human side to all of this, and this is all the people who live here along the Rio Grande Valley. How do they feel about the potential for more immigrants to cross the border? Well, that's what our Alicia Barrera has been trying to determine today and speaking with different homeowners along the valley. She joins us now in Hidalgo with more. Alicia.
Good afternoon, Stephania. Well, yesterday we got here and the first thing we did, we headed about 15 miles west of where we're at right now, and that's in the city of Peñitas. It's a small rural area. We talked to property owners there, and then this morning we headed 15 miles east of where we are now, and that's in the city of Donna. And we got pretty much the same feel there. Both property owners in both of those cities share with me that really the fence is their backyard, so they do admit that traffic when it comes to undocumented immigrants in these last 2-3 months has been pretty slow, and now they're really on edge of what could come Monday. So just in a matter of days, they are aware that things could definitely change. These property and business owners say that, but they do say that a fence is not enough. They do recognize that part. We spoke to one rancher. His name is Richard Guerra Sr. He owns several thousand acres for his cattle business out in Roma, Texas. That's about an hour west of where we are. And while many are focused on the rights of asylum seekers when it comes to Title 42, Guerra says there aren't enough people fighting for his rights as a property owner. He doesn't want Title 42 lifted because he fears his property, which sits on the border, would be continuously damaged by undocumented immigrants running through his land. He says 1 mile of game fence can cost him anywhere around $20,000.
A lot of landowners like myself, we have common problems, people coming across, contaminating their property, their cattle, doing damages to fences. By removing Title 42, you're going to add to an existing burden. The total effect, we don't know what the total effect is going to be like, but we know it's not going to be good.
So now they wait. They, as in property owners, business owners, they wait to see if come Monday the Biden administration will fully lift Title 42. But coming up at 6, we'll hear from organizations who advocate for asylum seekers, and they say that Title 42 must be lifted immediately. Live in Hidalgo, Alicia Barrera, KSAT 12 News. Stephania, back to you.
Alicia, thank you. And, you know, Myra and Steve, the thing is here that you keep hearing the word if Title 42 were to end. And the reason why is that may not happen. And that is because there is a federal lawsuit that is underway. We have 24 states, including our own state of Texas, suing the federal government, trying to stop it from ending Title 42 next week. The judge in that case says that he is expected to release his opinion on that sometime before the Title 42 is set to expire. So a lot of people are expecting that decision to come down sometime next week. Now, here's the thing. What happens then? What is the Biden administration prepared to do if Title 42 does remain in place for the foreseeable future? Well, that's a question that we asked the secretary, and you're going to get his response when we see you at 6 o'clock. For now, we're live in the Rio Grande Valley. Stephania, Jimenez, KSAT 12 News. Myra, Steve?
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Of course, Title 42 is a provision of federal law enacted during the pandemic that allows people coming to the U.S. who want to seek asylum. They're essentially turned away because of the threat of communicable disease. So with so much focus on the end of Title 42 at this point in the pandemic, you might have questions about its beginning. When was it first created? How has it upended the U.S. immigration system over the past 2 years? Scan the QR code you see right here to find out. That will take you to a KSAT Explains episode focused on Title 42 and the policies in place right now in this country when it comes to someone wanting to seek asylum. You can also find that by going to ksat.com/explains.